Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Life here, and I'm not alone. I'm joined by the venerable, the back from holiday, Mr. Felix.
Hey, it's me. I'm back.
Hey!
Feels good.
We're also joined by the ever-present, except for when he's not, Mr. Xeon.
Hey guys, hey, I just woke up, can you tell?
He sounded a lot perkier when we started the call. Yes, so we have now all played a minimum of 100 hours in Tears of the Kingdom. And we do want to preface this video, we're just going to give our thoughts and things like that. If you are concerned about spoilers, even though we're not going to go into any major detail or any major spoilers, if you're worried about spoilers at all, we'd still recommend you navigate away and experience the game firsthand. But with that in mind, Mr. Felix, how many hours do you have in Tears of the Kingdom?
I have 110 hours.
110!
Ooh.
Yes.
Mr. Xeon, what about yourself?
Yes, I definitely have my Switch in my hands right now, and I'm looking at the, let me scroll down, yep, oh, there it is. There's Tears of the Kingdom. I have 100 hours. Or 105. I don't have my glasses on. It could be one of those. It's definitely 100 or 105, though. It is. I swear.
Okay, and I mean, you guys already know that I'm a little bit more in terms of the hour mark. I'm on 175 on my main playthrough, and on my second playthrough, I'm going to guess that around about 15 or 20, something around that region. So, yeah, quite a few hours between us, to say the least. I think we're probably pushing 400 hours between us.
You have enough hours in there for like a fourth person in this discussion.
So, did we like it? I liked it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I liked it as well. I mean, a pretty good game.
Yeah, it's all right. Well, thank you so much for watching. If you no, this game it's exceptional. I feel it really, really is. I still can't. I mean, the thing is that the game is so well made, so well polished that it's almost unremarkable. Like, I've not had a crash ever, and I'm on 100 flipping hours in my game. And I know people have reported crashes, but I've tried to make the game crash and I haven't succeeded.
When there is that report, right, that Nintendo spent an extra year or something polishing the game and like working out bugs and checking things out. But you really, when you put it in that perspective, you really can see like the fruits of that labor, and just there's so many fun, weird little things that you can do, and I guess I haven't really found something that you can't do yet. But you're right, like no matter what you try, the game doesn't seem to break or reject you, and that's really that allows.
I don't want to break.
Yeah, it allows for some really special experiences, and it's cool.
It's kind of like when it works this well, you kind of forget how complex all the stuff really is that it's pulling off.
Yeah. It's so easy. It's completely, in a way, it's kind of spoilt me for games. I mean, I've just at the time recording, the Pikmin 4 review is out, so I've talked about the fact that I've played it. I was kind of, I had to sort of remind myself what a normal game is like when playing Pikmin 4, because I was like, I can see, I've experienced like 6 frame drops in my entire playtime. That's outlandish. Even though I know, Tears of the Kingdom has far more, but like, even just little things like jumping with Ochi when you're against a wall, sometimes it can get a little bit wobbly. It doesn't break the game by any stretch, but I was just like, that was annoying me more than it ever reasonably should, because I've been so spoilt with Tears. It's so refined.
Have you had any moments too where like in Tears of the Kingdom, when you're doing a shrine as an example, sometimes there's like an intended way to do something, and then like the best part about Tears is that you can kind of like just tackle different shrines and different puzzles from like so many different angles because you have so many different options. That like last night when I was playing, I saw a shrine, I was like, I'm not doing that. And so I like cheated my way around it instead and found out that the solution really was a lot easier than I thought. But I did it the hard way, and I did it my way, right? But in other games, like maybe Pikmin 4, I don't know, but in other games you often just have one way to tackle something. And Zelda, you just have so many options. It is such a sandbox game And I could see from that perspective it being hard to go back to something, not something so simplistic, but with just less options, I guess.
I've been playing other stuff after Zelda, and I actually find it is a nice change of pace that you just have an intended route, because Tears of the Kingdom can be a bit overwhelming in some senses, just because you can do everything in every single, everything you can possibly come up with, you can most likely do that. And I'm playing the Great Ace Attorney 2, and there's one route to take. And for me, that's just been really nice, because I played Breath of the Wild and then Tears of the Kingdom. It was basically like 5 months.
And Ocarina of Time.
Yes. So it's just Zelda. I'm one of the few people that actually... So I prefer Breath of the Wild over Tears of the Kingdom, and I know that might be controversial, because Tears of the Kingdom adds so much new stuff. There's new areas to explore, new abilities, and a lot of the stuff is better. I think the story is better and all that, but it didn't feel the same amount of special as Breath of the Wild, where Breath of the Wild was just like... it's hard to explain, because on paper, Tears of the Kingdom should be better, but for me...
Do you think it kind of feels like your first, like Breath of the Wild was like your first time eating cake, and Tears of the Kingdom is like better cake, but it's like, I'm not like 1 year old anymore, like it's just not as cool, maybe. Do you think, or not as cool, but it's not as memorable?
I think that's a perfect way of putting it. Tears of the Kingdom is better, bit older cake.
Breath of the Wild was like the first time you have a Victoria sponge. It's really simple, but it's just like, oh, this is amazing. And then years down the line, you have something with like persimmon and a gravy reduction or something. And yeah, it's technically, a gravy reduction is not something you should put on cake. I'm just putting that out there. But it's technically better, but you're always going to be chasing that first experience. And I fully get that. It's why I think, it's nostalgia for many things, but it's why so many people will say the same thing, and people have been saying it about Zelda especially, that the older games were better. I liked, it when, what happened to getting a boomerang and things like that. And it's, at the end of the day, it's, it's just different, it's just different. And having said all that, I still think I actually prefer Tears of the Kingdom. I don't know whether it's just because I played Breath of the Wild to death so much, but it cannot be argued. Breath of the Wild was revolutionary, whereas Tears of the Kingdom is evolutionary. And also, I was amazed when I found out that they're not technically running on the same engine. Tears of the Kingdom's running on the Splatoon 3 engine.
Is it?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Same engine as Switch Sports as well.
Imagine Switch Sports, like there's some cheat code you can put in, and it's actually a giant open world that no one has figured out yet.
I think it's more just, Nintendo makes these engines in-house in the same way that, Unity can be used to create almost anything. And Nintendo just creates their own version, and, that's fine. But I don't know, it's just an amusing thing.
It would be really cool if someday we discover that there's like a giant Switch Sports avatar in there with like the sword thing. I can't remember what term they...
Chumbara.
Yeah, that. There's like a big boss that you can fight in the game, because it's just it runs on the same engine. It's like the R-Wing in Ocarina of Time that they used as like a test enemy. Yeah, there's a test enemy in there from Switch Sports. I hope someone finds that in 10 years. That'd be really nice, but
There may be some leftover assets in there from another game. It's not impossible, but it's also not impossible that the engine was originally made for Tears of the Kingdom, and then they used that to create Switch. It could go both ways. I genuinely have no idea, but it's possible.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Okay, so since we've all revealed how much we've played, so how far are we along in this game? Because I went along and just finished the story here the other day, and I haven't really touched the game since, but I know you guys haven't gotten around to that.
No, I haven't completed it. I have done... Xeon's not going to be editing this. Xeon, cover your ears.
Oh, sure. I'm just going to... All right, yep.
I've done...
Ooh.
Shh, don't tell him. Xeon, you can come back now. Hello.
Okay, that actually was loud enough. Thank you.
Oh, wow. Ha! How about that? So yeah, that's as far as I am. But Xeon, how far are you?
I have done 1, God, I'm still so nervous to say the word dungeon or temple. Like my heart, like in I don't know, in games or movies where like someone's about to transform into like a werewolf or something, and their heart, like there's a close up on screen and it goes like dunk, 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 dunk. Like that's what happens to me when like the depths comes up, or like
He
the
said
dungeons,
it.
or like
Oh no, the game's only been out 2 months.
Shoot. But yeah, like when I don't know. But yeah, I've done one. I've done 40 shrines. I have like 55 unlocked or whatever. I've done a decent amount of side quests. And yeah, I don't know where I've spent my 100 hours. Like maybe just doing strategy guides and leaving the game on accident or something. I don't know. But and I found all of the memories finally, which we won't talk about, I know.
No.
But one thing I do want to mention, not memory involved really, but I was playing the game last night. I started at 10 p.m. and I was like, I'm going to play until midnight and then I'll go to bed, and that's perfect. And I was doing some shrines, and I was feeling this kind of feeling of like it just feels like I'm just checking boxes in a list. Like I wasn't really like necessarily enjoying myself. And then I stopped doing shrines, and I was like, oh, I should go find some memories. And I went and did some of those, and it was fun, and blah, blah, blah. And then before I knew it, it was 1:30. And I was an hour and a half past the time that I was planning to play till. And I remember Felix and I talked about this in the discussion we did the first week after Tears of the Kingdom came out. And we kind of talked about how this game really is one of those games where like, you just keep getting, for me at least, I keep getting pulled in. It's like, oh, just one more thing. There's like, oh, there's Keaton, or not Keaton, the Kilton, or Bilton, whatever his brother's name is. Like he's like hanging out over, he's hanging out over there. I should go like talk to him. Oh, like I only need like a few more of those gems. Oh, I should go find a couple more of those. And like I think it's a problem with the game in some aspects because there's almost too much to do. But I do love that there really are so many ways the game can pull you back in naturally without trying to like microtransaction you or pull you in twisted ways. It's just an organically fun game, and it's funny how I forgot about that and was feeling differently at the start of my play session yesterday, and then by the end of it I was like, it's 1:30. I want to keep playing, and I'm really loving that about the game.
I am curious to hear from you, Felix. How many shrines have you done? Because Xeon, you said you've unlocked about 50 odd, and you've done about 40 odd. But Felix, with a somewhat similar playtime, how many have you done?
Okay, so I've done 96 shrines.
Whoa!
Dang, that's amazing.
And even like after I talked with Sion, because he said like a lot of the times he finds a shrine and then it's like, I don't really want to do this. I'm just gonna get the fast traveling thing, and then I move on with my life. I actually have done that a lot of the times. So I think I found like way over 100, and there's just a ton that I haven't really gone into because I was doing other stuff, or I was just not feeling like doing a puzzle. But it is really interesting to see the different adventures we get out of it. Like, how many shrines do you have, Alex? You have loads more hours than us.
I think 134 off the top of my head, something like that.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not the type of person that can go and find a shrine and then just go, I'll come back to it later. I know I've done that on my second playthrough, but on my primary save, it's like if I find a shrine, I've got to do it there and then. It's like, it's a shrine, baby!
So we've talked about the shrines, but what about the items? Which items have we used the most?
Ooh, I would love that. Yes, I would love that. Yes.
Obviously, we're going to have the same, like, bright bloom seeds.
Oh, yeah, that's my number one.
Surprisingly, my number one is fire fruit.
Oh, that's my number two.
Nice.
And I think that's just because I need fire to light up stuff, and since there isn't any fire arrows, that's just what you use.
That's at number 3 for me right now as well, and I think that was pretty high up for a long time, but then I ended up getting let's see, what is it? A Farouche hammer is what I have. It's like it's a fused item. It's not like a special, unlockable weapon or something, for spoiler territory. It's not that.
Okay.
But it allows you to light things on fire. And so I've been using that.
That'd be Dinral, wouldn't it? Rather than Frosh.
Oh my gosh. Yep. I was literally highlighted on the wrong item. Oh my gosh. Wow. No,
leave
it's a
it in
fire
the
breath.
video. Leave it in the edit.
It's a fire breath Lizzle blade. That's what it is.
Oh.
Sorry. Yeah, that's. But yeah, ever since I got that, which I've had it for a long time. I mean, I guess I don't really use it as a weapon ever. I just light things on fire with it. But I think my fire fruits have really kind of taken a back seat ever since.
I've used a surprising number of Gibdo bones.
Ooh, I have that a bit lower down because they're very fragile, but they have a lot of damage.
Yeah, I slap them onto Savage Lionel bows with 5-shot. So you end up firing 5 of them.
Oh!
It takes down a silver moblin in like 2 hits or something like that. It's
That's
probably
insane.
more than 2 hits, but it feels like 2 hits.
Actually, it'd be 10 hits because you're firing 5 arrows.
Actually.
My number one is Bright Bloom Seeds, by the way, as well.
Yeah, it's Bright Bloom Seeds are great. Even when you've got a Bright Bloom Seed spear, like I do.
You do?
Yeah. If you stick it on
fun.
a Forest Dweller spear, you can reuse a giant Bright Bloom free forever.
That's cool. Okay.
That is really cool.
As far as weapons go, though, I still use amber a lot for fusing into weapons because I think it just looks so cool. It's really not that high up
interesting.
on my list. It's at the, it's number 20 for me. Or
okay.
16, the 16th most item I've used, but yeah, that's my favorite fuse. But I think it's also just because you find amber everywhere for the most part.
Yeah.
So it never feels like I'm throwing away a resource for a weapon or,
No.
Can I divert the topic significantly?
Yes.
Okay.
and I just want to throw my number 2 is bomb flowers.
That's very sensible.
Mine would be number 1, but
Yeah.
I don't have any right now, so I don't.
That's so comical. I love that.
They are ridiculously good. I just wish I had more of them most of the time because, again,
Right.
Same.
stick them on a Savage Lionel bow with 5-shot.
Before you divert the topic, I did also want to ask how many Bright Bloom Seeds everyone has because I have
Ooh.
enough to I don't know, light up a city with. It feels
I have
like
419.
I recently upgraded some armor that required Bright Bloom Seeds.
Oh.
So I've only got 585.
Oh my gosh. Only.
But to derail the topic of conversation even further, I actually have something that I'm not so keen on in the game. Whoa! What? Legitimate complaints about a video game? You better believe it.
How dare you
boy.
out? Leave! Alex, get out of here right now! This is a Nintendo. This is Nintendo Life. Did you not know that? We don't talk about complaints around here. I'm so sorry for the outburst. Sometimes it just happens. Please go on, Alex.
Can I have a guess on what it is?
Have a guess. Guess away.
Is it the Sage abilities?
It's the Sage abilities.
That's amazing because I got one and I turned it off.
Yeah, I don't have them on.
I have all, and I never use them because
I
they're
very
just an
occasionally
annoyance.
use one. Well, you know about this one, Xeon. I occasionally use Tulins if I just need a little bit more distance. But then I turn it off, immediately. Or I forget, I get in a fight, he starts shooting people, and then I remember to turn him off. I don't want to go into any specific details per se, but there is one that I do like, and it functions quite differently to the others overall. Don't worry, Xeon, I'm going to use broad terms here. I think you probably know the one that I'm talking about, Felix. I actually quite like that one, but that is the exception. All the others, they just feel like lesser versions of the champion abilities from Breath of the Wild and integrated in a significantly less elegant way.
Oh, it's super clunky. The way that it's like an actual sage running around and you have to go over to them to activate it.
It's like,
it works.
let's go!
I'm baffled how badly it's integrated.
Well, the thing is that I don't think they're necessarily I don't think it's appallingly poorly implemented. I just think it's compared to everything else in the game, it sticks out as being nowhere near as refined or as seamless.
It's just in Breath of the Wild, it was just so seamless. Like you say that it isn't in Tears of the Kingdom. It's because you have either to hold down a button or
it just happens when you're doing something. It all happened as part of your standard gameplay, or it required a very natural input.
Exactly.
Whereas to say to a character, let's go, and then press a button again for them to unleash whatever it is that they unleash. It's yeah.
It's kind of weird too. Like when you first get one, like when I was doing the first dungeon temple thing that I did, and Tulin's hanging out with you, I was like, oh, this is really cute and fun. Like now I have somebody to explore the world with. And then you finish and you get this like ghostly apparition of the character, and it just kind of feels like kind of creepy, I guess.
Yeah.
And there is some fun to be had with like how isolating Breath of the Wild could be, right? Of just exploring the world by yourself and going and standing next to a fox, and then it sees you and gets scared and runs away, and like you're alone in the woods, really. And I like the idea that you can now have this kind of like companion friend that can run around with you, but it can just be it can kind of destroy that magic, can it?
I'd actually argue the opposite. I was quite relieved when I saw that it was an apparition, so we didn't have to hear, here we go, woo! Well, you still hear the woo, which actually I don't mind the woo, but it's all the, leave it to me, I'm gonna do it, I'm Miles Tails Prower, all that sort of thing.
Thank you.
And the other sages, I mean,
yeah.
some of them are better than others, don't get me wrong, but one sage in particular, it's a character I didn't like in Breath of the Wild, and I like them even less in Tears of the Kingdom.
Oh no, it's worse.
I think I have the same way.
Xeon, cover your ears.
Oh sure.
It's Yonobo, obviously.
Yeah.
Because the Gorons are like my favorite race in Zelda historically, and he's like the worst character, and it stings even more that he's a Goron.
Oh man.
Xeon, come back!
Okay, I'm back.
This is working almost efficiently.
It's going so well. We should use this more in the future.
So what is the thing that you unexpectedly just really liked about the game? A thing that you didn't think, like, maybe a thing you didn't expect the game to have? I really like that you have these missions where you can go and fight with all the villages. I know there is, like, in the trailer you see that you go with, like, you stand with them, but I didn't know to what extent it was. I didn't know if it was story related. It turns out it's just side quests where you go and defeat these massive, I don't know what the word is.
Hordes?
Yes, of these moblins and bokoblins, and it feels so nice that these other villages also fights beside you, and I really like that. But what about you?
I will say too that I haven't done enough of that yet. The first time I did one, it felt kind of, I wasn't as excited about it as I hoped I would be. But I think I've heard you and somebody else talk about how much they loved it. So I'm really excited now to like find more of those side quests so I can really kind of see, what there is to love about that. For me though, I think it's probably the weapon fusion. I think I was really nervous and kind of, or even kind of like building vehicles felt really daunting to me at first, and I think the like vehicle building and just terrain building is much different still than, like, to me that's a separate category than fusion, but I love like finding new items, and when I have the courage to decide that I'm gonna take this silver horn or whatever it is and fuse it to a weapon, I love seeing what is it going to look like in the end, because like when I first fused amber to a sword, I was just surprised how much it became a part of the weapon and how much it really changed its overall look. And when playing games like Majora's Mask or really any Zelda game, like finding new items and finding new weapons where I think was one of my favorite elements of the games, and I felt like that was kind of really lacking in Breath of the Wild. But now in Tears of the Kingdom with weapon fusion, it kind of feels like you can find new weapons and new items all the time, and it's kind of one of those things that I don't really ever want to find all of them because I want there always to be some kind of surprise waiting for me. But but there have been a few, like I was mentioning earlier, that weapon that I was saying that I thought was the fire weapon but was a different one. When I fused some items and made that, my jaw dropped, and I was just so surprised by what I was now holding in my hands. And I think that's the thing I'm liking the most, because I thought I was going to be, nervous about it and confused and not want to fuse stuff, but it's been a lot more fun than I thought.
It also incentivizes you more to go and actually defeat these monsters, because in Breath of the Wild you got these items that you couldn't really use for a lot else than brew potions. But now you actually get rewarded for if you take down a really tough boss, then you can make a really good weapon in turn, so you can defeat more bosses, and the ball just keeps rolling.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's true. Like it does, it gives you an extra reason to like if you're running past a sleepy, oh my god, I don't even remember what a Hinox, right? And you're like,
Yes.
like do I really? But you're like, well, maybe I get that like the horn or the eyeball or whatever. I don't even remember. I don't know.
You
What am
don't
I
get
talking
eyeballs
about?
as a drop from a Hinox Xeon, you 100-hour player.
Of course, I forget. You shoot 100 arrows into the eyeball of the Hinox, so there's no eyeball left to use. Of course.
Exactly. I think the thing that
Yeah. What about you, Alex?
wow. Thank you for asking. I think for me, and this is I suppose in many ways a minor thing, it's Ascend. When they first revealed it and
Ooh.
stuff, I was like, is that really like in the Our New gameplay? When they first showed it, I was like, that really is like a very lesser one. That's like the least interesting one. It is now like a really regular feature that I use, and
Yes.
for the longest time, I kept forgetting to use it. It didn't seem important. And now that, now that I'm sort of like aware of it and I'm using it more frequently and I understand it, I'm using it all the time. It is so useful. Very occasionally, I'll go into like an area that reminds me too much of Breath of the Wild, and I'll forget that I've got it, and I'll just like, my brain will just like switch back into Breath of the Wild mode. But a lot of the time, it's, it is so dead handy. Although that sort of like brain switching thing happened for like most of the time that I've been using mirrors in the game. I was like holding them above my head and I couldn't quite get them. I was like putting them on my shield and trying to angle them, and I was like, this is ridiculous. Why is this so hard? And like after doing about 5 puzzles with mirrors, I then picked one up. After I'd been picking it up with the Ultra Hand to move it, I then picked it up with the Ultra Hand and I was like, oh, why don't I just use the Ultra Hand to position it?
Oh no. I totally feel that though too. Even like when there's so many shrines I've been in, or even just like you look at a skull, or you look at a stall, like wall that you might want to scale, and you remember like, oh, like if only I had Rivali scale. If only, say it with me, everyone.
Oh.
And but then you see like just a little rock like protruding from a wall that fell magically from the sky potentially and got stuck in the wall or whatever, and you realize you can ascend up to it, and now you can climb a bit higher, and it's cool how many different ways ascent comes into play and can help you in the game.
It's just cool to see how different the game feels with the new abilities, because it really changes how you have to think about everything. And I don't know if you were the only ones, but to me at the start, it was really hard to get used to the abilities being at a different position on my controller, because I had just played Breath of the Wild, and now it's a completely different layout. I was just always choosing the wrong thing. But then you get used to it, and it's so slick the way you select everything, like with the little arrow. Ooh, I like it.
Although I do think that they missed a trick in regards to, like, they've got one section that's just map. And it's like you could have put like Sage ability quick menu there or something. That would have been really useful.
It is really odd that there's a map when there is literally a button for the map.
There's a dedicated map button. I mean, admittedly, if you were just last looking at the Hyrule Compendium, then that's what'll be loaded first. But even then, it's not a big deal. 99% of the time, it's going to be the map.
So speaking of things that we would change in the game, that's a really good point, that like the Sage abilities are like such an awkward thing to turn on. I literally have not turned, like I just finally turned the one on right now while we were playing, and then I've already turned it back off. But that was the first time I've done that since I got it. So obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, but we're probably going to get some DLC for the game at some point. Right?
Yeah.
Have you guys had any? Maybe I shouldn't say right. Like, yeah, confirm it for me, guys. That's totally not what I mean. But have you guys any thoughts about like what you would want to see or what you expect?
Yes.
Or yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I would like to see both the Sky Islands and the Depths be expanded upon, because I feel like they are a bit lackluster. Like, you have the Great Sky Island in the sky, but then after that, I don't know. I feel like in the trailers, it looked like there would be a lot more to do in the sky, when in the end it was just a lot of small puzzles, and I was just kind of let down in the end. The same with the depths. Really, really cool in the start when you go there, and it seems so big, and then it starts getting quite repetitive in the end. I feel like they are massively underexplored, and I hope to see more of that in the DLC.
I actually feel that the depths is more substantial than the Sky Islands. I do agree that I want more Sky Islands. Things like large areas like the Great Sky Island, because that is wonderful to go around, and I just want to do more of that. But the depths, I actually feel... I felt the same way for quite a while, but then I would just like... I think I just went through a phase of just seeing the same stuff over and over again. But then I really went down and really did some digging, if you'll pardon the pun, and seeing sort of like the familiar shapes from the surface, but in a totally different way, I actually found really, really intriguing. You just be sort of like moving around, schmoozing, throwing bright bloom seeds down, and then all of a sudden you'd find a massive mine. And it's like, what the hell's, what's this? And you get through that. And, like there's a unique piece of armor at the end and stuff like that. And it felt really satisfying. And I thought I'd found all the bargainer statues. I hadn't until like 2 days ago. I found, and it was massive. And I was like, what? And it was, it was just wonderful that I could still get that sense from the depths. It feels so underexplored to me.
I guess it is kind of like the ocean in many aspects, like in the ocean in our world. Like it's so dark and you don't really know what's there. And I originally thought too that, there were going to be way less of the light veins.
Light
Roots, thank you. Light veins, good gravy. The light roots. I thought there were going to be way less of them. So originally I was like, I don't want to light all these. I love how dark and scary it is. But there really is one for every shrine in the game. Is that right?
Yeah, well, every shrine that's on the surface.
Yes.
Okay.
But what about you, Alex? And Sion? You can go first, Alex. What do you want to see as DLC?
Oh,
if there's DLC.
I want to see more about the Zonai, and I don't want to go into any... I have a little pet theory based on a few little details in the game, but I think that the DLC will focus on the connection between the Zonai and the Sheikah. And I think part of that is going to revolve around, you guessed it, everyone's favorite bard, Cass.
Why is he not in the game?
Because I think he's going to be in the DLC.
I really, really hope so. It would be so nice.
There are references to him, but he's not there. It's kind of like a pretty obvious omission.
What if Cass has a kid? What if he's off living a life? He's like, I'm a dad now.
He already has 5 kids.
Oh, he does?
The 5 little birds in the Rito village he's the father.
Oh, no way.
How did I not know that? Felix throwing shade at me here.
Same. That's amazing.
When you do all the cast thing, he returns to the village and he practices with his accordion with his 5 little kids. It's really, really cool.
Damn, that's adorable.
Yes.
It's like Bluey, the video game.
But yeah, I would like to see more Cass because he's one of my favorite characters, and it was just... I was really holding out hope. I thought he was at maybe his hideout, and he has like a thing on the big mushroom trees. I don't know, but he wasn't there, and I was really sad. So yeah, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
What about you, Sion?
So really, I would love some DLC where like a big scary moon appears, and like everybody in the game starts freaking out, and then I don't know. You have to go.
I mean, to be fair, we do have a scary moon in this still.
Oh, good point. The moon just gets a face, or there's a second moon, and then like there's the blood moon, and there's like this moon 2, baby. Everyone's been waiting for this. And the DLC is going to be called Mask of the Zonai, because you now get these cool masks that you can wear that are of the Zonai, And no, I don't know what I want from DLC yet. Maybe I would like some of the like the sage abilities, like modified or expanded. Maybe that's why you guys feel some ways about the sage abilities as well. Obviously, I know that's not the entire problem, but maybe some way to kind of make those better, because I think that was a big part of the DLC in it was the second pass, right? Or the second part in Breath of the Wild, It was a bit of a slightly weak reward, I felt, in Breath of the Wild for the DLC. I mean, obviously you got the Master Cycle as well, and that was the main reward, but it's like, you can now use Rivali's Gale more frequently, and it's like... Oh, you're right, that was it, yeah.
You know, that's sort of like... Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to turn it down, but is that my primary reward for doing all this, you know?
Was there not anything in Breath of the Wild that made the abilities more powerful? Or was that something?
No, that was, they just made them more frequent.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
You got like Rivalia Scale Plus, and then it is really frequent, don't get me wrong, and that's really nice. But normally you do the DLC at the end of the game, so you can't, like, this would have been useful a lot earlier, so I totally get what you mean.
Yeah.
I see.
Although the main thing I want from DLC is I want Master Mode, and I want it to be even harder.
Yes!
I've got designs, I've got plans in my head, I've got a video in mind.
Oh, looking forward to that, Alex.
You're a glutton for just a tough, punishing game, aren't you?
Oh, call me the gourmand of pain.
So... we did kind of talk about like some of our favorite, like Felix, you brought up what was our like new favorite part kind of that we weren't expecting, but do you all happen to have like just a general favorite part of the game, regardless of if it was something that surprised you or not?
Oh yeah, I do as well.
Nice. Okay. Do you want to go first?
If Alex doesn't mind, sure.
You go for it, dude.
I think my favorite aspect of Tears of the Kingdom was going to the villages and see how they've changed, because I played Breath of the Wild just before, and I've said it a lot of times, but I really feel that made me really see all the changes that has happened to these towns, and they did a lot with these towns that I did not expect them to do. Like when you first arrive at Rito Village, it's all covered in snow and there's this really sad song, stuff like that I absolutely love. And I think that was my favorite experience, like seeking out every town and seeing what has happened. And it didn't disappoint there. Really, really happy on how they handled that.
That's really similar to kind of what my favorite thing is as well. There's a thing in Hateno Village where, Hateno's changed quite a lot in for better or worse.
Oh yeah.
But there's one little secret hidden thing in that town that kind of made me like, I think that's kind of what really made me say like, wow, you're playing the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And it just is, you're kind of being able to have the knowledge of playing Breath of the Wild and knowing all the nooks and crannies for the most part, and just finding these things that you didn't expect, and finding more hidden lore. Like the lore, the story of the game probably is my favorite part. But seeing, the ways that they expand and reward players, and that's probably my favorite part. So it really kind of leans into what you said, Felix, there. But what about you, Alex? What do you think is that piques your fancy the most?
It's honestly, I genuinely could not give you a single answer. So I'm just going to pick one answer. Because there's so many things about this game. We talked about the things we'd like to change that we've been a little bit disappointed with, but at the end of the day, this may well be one of the best, if not the best game I've ever played in so many different ways. I can't believe that I'm still like, after this, I'm going to go and play some more. And it's not, sort of like, I'm going to, play an hour or two. I'm going to spend the whole evening playing this game, and I'm still going to be wanting to play it again the next day, and the next day, and the next day. But I think for me, one of the biggest things is how they've expanded. It's kind of a weak answer, but kind of how they've expanded on what they did in Breath of the Wild. It's a very broad and nebulous one that anyone can read whatever they like into, but seeing the evolution, seeing new enemy types being brought in. The boss battles are honestly pretty flippin' excellent, to say the least. But also just the sheer cheek of, sort of, Nintendo knew that this game was going to be big. They knew it was going to be, sort of like seminal. but they still didn't cheap out on anything. But at the same time, they still threw in some absolutely nonsense things, like octoballoons are back. They are now so utterly defunct as an item, but they're still there. You can put one on your shield, and it's like a significantly worse rocket. And there's a quest, a side quest, where you literally just stand on a plinth in the desert for about it's like 5 or 10 real life minutes, not moving.
What?
And that's a genuine side quest. And, so you sort of think, haha, very funny, Nintendo. You just threw that one random one in. Then there's a follow-up where you do it again.
Oh, no.
And honestly, it's just the sheer cheek of it. Nintendo were just like, yep, we've got a quest where you literally stand still. And they call it, it's kind of like a sort of like an endurance thing in the game. You're seeing whether you can survive without clothes on. In the colder and the heat, in 2 separate quests. But the thing is that in a way, it's almost kind of an endurance thing. It's like, can you really sit there and just see the game running without you doing anything for this length of time? I don't know. It was just, I only discovered that, I think, literally the day before yesterday. And it really stood out to me. And I was like, you cheeky beggars. You cheeky beggars.
I mean, the quests in this game are just so much better than in Breath of the Wild.
They are. And they were amazing in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah. I mean, most of them. There was also a lot of just, collect 55 mushrooms. Okay.
Yeah, there were a few like that.
A diamond.
Do you remember, like, in the first week when Tears of the Kingdom came out? For the record, I want to say that no one's opinion is ever invalid. Everyone has the right to feel however they feel and express it however they want. But in that first week, we would see comments online from people that, or just, negative reviews or whatever, and they would just say, like, Tears of the Kingdom is lame. It's just the same map. But it's like, either those people, like, just didn't play the game, or they didn't play Breath of the Wild, so they don't really know what's really changed, or they were just, just jumping on a bandwagon that they didn't need to, but you bring up a really good point, Alex, though, is that the game really has just changed so much, and they've done so much with the same map. But the game is still just so insanely fun. Like, it's so nice to hear that you want to go back and play, like, right after this, because I have to work, because my shift has just started, but I also want to do the same thing. Like, I still have the game loaded up right now, and I'm just waiting for a thing to happen in game while we've been chatting, and it's going to be really hard to not go play it. Really hard.
Maybe Bilton will come by and say hello.
Oh gosh. Bilton, thank you.
But there you have it. I mean, we've got to wrap this up now, but I feel like we could just sort of sit down.
We have to go play Zelda, so.
Yeah, absolutely. We could sit down. We could probably talk about this for another 3 hours, to be honest, and then wake up tomorrow morning and do another 3-hour discussion. Like, I feel like we barely scratched the surface. This game is landmark.
And maybe we should. Maybe if people want us to, yeah.
I would love to do another chat, because there's just so much to talk about.
There's so much. It's kind of ridiculous. But let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Keep them spoiler-free for anyone passing by, sort of any wayward souls who don't know what's going on. There's plenty of them out there. And thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you just play that subscribe button. Just never stop playing that subscribe button. And be sure to check out NintendoLife.com for all sorts of lovely Nintendo-related content. Thank you again for watching. Bye-bye.
So when are we going to do the 200-hour chat? Or 250 hours? Because, I mean, Alex is almost at